Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today, on a rather grim day outside I have to say, I'm looking at a book. Actually it's a special report, this one here, which has come to us from Globe Law and Business and Family Offices Insights. This is setting up a family office, a special report, and it's been written by two people, Keith Drewery and Barbara R. Hauser, and they are to be congratulated on producing what is a really very interesting and important report for the future, because they're looking ahead. We are at the moment, as I record this, in the autumn of 2020, facing an international problem, that is the pandemic which has afflicted the planet, COVID-19. So we're really looking at the moment at where we're going to be going with the jurisdictions that we have, the legal jurisdictions, the criminal and the civil. This one, of course, is the civil jurisdiction. And Elizabeth, my partner, wrote the review herself initially, having discussed the book in some detail, or the report rather, in some detail with me. So she's the lead writer, but I've made some changes. The headline we've given is, "What is a family office? A need-to-know special report of special interest to advisors of high net worth clients." Now, a family office is not what you might think it will be, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But first of all, let's look at the report itself. It's very much the sort of report that we're used to seeing. It's an A4 size report, runs to 80 pages. That's the front of it there. There's nothing on the spine, but on the back you've got quite a lot of blurb. You probably can't make much of it out, but it basically does explain what this is setting up. A family office is never an easy undertaking and can present numerous challenges for anyone seeking to steward assets for future generations or meet the complex needs of extended family members. You get some idea, but I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute. The back of the book is basically some advertisements about Globe and about the publication firm itself. Then you have, as is their practice in the house style, the details about the authors there and there at the back of the book. Barbara Hauser is an independent family advisor, and Keith Drewery is director of Drewery Consulting, advising private clients and their families on basically in terms of taxation. There are additional resources again at the back of the book, basically books, periodicals, articles and so forth. There are a few websites as well which are worth looking at. Then there are notes right at the back of the report. Now if I go to the front, there's the front page there. Then we have a bit of blurb. There's a lot of information there about Globe. And then you've got the table of contents. And what you've got is you've got an introduction, what is the family office, the increasing popularity of the family office, how to use this report. Then you've got should I have a family office, structure, key questions and so on. And then running all the way through, looking at the pros and the cons, starting the process and so forth. Coordination with estate planning, also very important, because we are talking about long-term financial commitments and planning. It's not about avoidance or evasion or any of those emotive terms. This is a sensible look. It mentions risk management, but it's a sensible look at what you do with your assets. And that's why I think this book is of very practical importance. The last part of the content section looks at the costs, the staffing of running the office. The family cycle of a family office is right at the end, and you can probably see that bit right at the end there. But if we go back to the beginning, you get an introduction which sets the scene. Family offices seem to increase in number on a continual and a global basis because things are changing, and then it runs through that way. There's a little bit of paragraph numbering if you like, but there's no footnoting as such, and the notes are right at the back of the book itself. You can see that, the report itself. As I say, it's not a detailed work in the sense of a very heavy legal tome, but what it is, it's giving, I think, very, very helpful advice. So in the times we live in, this special report, it's a new one from Globe, who of course are well known for their excellence in producing these special reports, is what we think a very timely publication, although it's apparent that the bulk of it was actually written prior to the seriousness of COVID-19 becoming apparent, and the true menace that it's now becoming, as I say, in the late summer, early autumn of this review, because the book appeared at the time that we started having the problems and the initial lockdown. Nevertheless, the two authors, Keith Drewery and Barbara Hauser, give us excellent advice on the preparation and procedures for setting up a family office. And it's an impressively practical report, and therefore valid in the face of just about any challenge to be faced during this international pandemic that we have. But what precisely is a family office? That's the question that, of course, is at the heart of what we have here. In any number of ways, the term seems to equate with family business, and there is many a lawyer out there and plenty of accountants who have some familiarity with the potential pitfalls inherent in setting up, establishing and running such a venture. Now, the two authors, Drewery and Hauser, have offered us a broad definition of the term that encompasses just about all shapes and sizes of a family office, from a one-person and assisted grouping to a family, large or small, with multiple assets to manage, because we are looking at money and we're looking at the future primarily. So to a large extent, this report is orientated to the latter, that's the larger and the multiple assets, rather than the smaller former single one-person organisation, if I can put it that way. Although the principles of setting up, which are clearly set out at the beginning of the report, remain very much the same, regardless of the size of the business or the activities carried out. Now, as the authors explain, the focus of the report is on the traditional single-family office, the SFO, rather than on the self-styled multi-family office, the MFO. So it's the single family rather than the multi. And obviously these SFO and MFO are often used to attract, of course, wealthy clients. Here the authors quote a useful definition of the family office, quote, as a private company of dedicated professionals devoted exclusively to the investment of personal and legacy needs of one family. And you can think, perhaps, as I certainly do as a barrister, I'm thinking of my studies years ago in equity and trusts, about the way in which very, very substantial families with a great deal of money will want to get proper advice. This is, of course, the mechanism that we're talking about, because by most people's reckoning, the report concerns itself primarily with wealth management. That's what we're really talking about, and the ways and means by which a satisfying and successful outcome can be achieved. And of course the authors place emphasis first on clear-eyed assessments of what the family assets consist of, what they are, and the consequent challenges which are involved. And having advised international clients for a good many years, both of the authors have delivered a wealth, if I can use the expression, of informed consultancy to the interested reader in the setting up and organisation of a family office, and that's the purpose behind the report. Favouring a clear and sensible step-by-step approach to the setting up process, the authors deal first with the basics of, for example, where to locate, how to hire, what structures to use, and much more, including such considerations as a financial return, a social return, and an emotional return, because you're dealing with the family, the money in the family. We call it wealth management. We also talk about estate planning, which I think is a much better term. It's less emotive than some of the other words that have been applied to trying to work out what you're going to do sensibly with the assets that you've amassed in the past. Now, let me conclude by saying this. For lawyers, indeed any professionals advising clients unclear about how to meet such challenges, including why, when and how to start, we think that this report should be regarded as essential reading. And it's very easy to read, and it's got a great deal of very useful tips and advice. I'm very grateful to both Keith and Barbara for producing this report for Globe Law. The publication date of the paperback report is cited as at the 10th of February 2020. So, as I've indicated, it appeared prior to the onslaught that we face with COVID-19. But as we start looking ahead to 2021, I think this report will be extremely helpful to everybody. Let's have one last look at it. There's the front, and then there's the back. Just opening it in the middle. Let's find something. What will a family office look like? You've got a few little diagrams there as well. It shows the family office with basically as a hub with all the various things. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just move that in a bit. You get some idea of the illustration there as to how the family office looks as a coordinator, and then what will the family office do. So these are very practical pieces of information on offer at actually quite a reasonable price. It's not an expensive publication. I think it's very, very helpful. Anyway, a big thank you to Sean O'Neill and Nicola Hornby at Globe, and to everybody involved in this work. We're grateful to have read it and to be able to review it. So thank you to all. Bye-bye.